Mia's small, warm hand tightly with the other. Inside, the scent of expensive wood floors, spices, and food that doesn't smell homemade. It's the smell of another world. "Mom, are we going to eat here?" Mia whispers, filled with delight. Her big brown eyes take in everything: the crystal chandeliers, the white tablecloths, the waiters in black vests. "Yes, honey. Today is a special day," Kira smiles, but inside she feels a sinking feeling. She checked her phone balance 3 times on the way. There's enough money. It should be enough. First paycheck at a new job. Not just another part-time job at a cafe or a warehouse, but a real office job at an architectural firm. She's an assistant designer. Sounds impressive. The receptionist behind the counter glances at them. His gaze is quick, professional. He sees Kira's simple dark blue skirt and white blouse, her old but clean shoes. He sees Mia in a bright dress with cats on it. He sees the absence of a ring on her mother's finger. His face remains polite, but his eyes are empty. "A table for 2, please," Kira says, her voice a little louder than necessary. "Of course! Come in." He leads them across the hall, not to the window where the soft sofas are, not even to the center. He leads them to the far corner, almost to the kitchen door. It's noisy here. Dirty dishes are being carried out here, but the table is clean, and the tablecloth on it is just as white. Kira sits Mia down. "It's nice here, isn't it? Cozy." Mia nods, her gaze fixed on the enormous vase of flowers in the center of the room. It's a palace for her. Kira sits down and places her bag on an empty chair. Her hands tremble slightly. She takes a deep breath. This is a victory, a small one, but hers. She's here. She can afford this. She's a successful mother. At least for today. She studies the menu, whispering the names of the dishes to Mia. The prices make her heart beat faster. She chooses the simplest thing: pasta with chicken for Mia and a salad for herself. Water, still. No soda, no dessert on the menu. She saved dessert at home. A slice of cake from the supermarket. The waiter takes the order without emotion. Mia draws on a napkin with the marker Kira always carries. Kira looks at her daughter, and her heart fills with warmth. She alone did it. She alone lifted her. She alone got this job after months of rejection. She looks at her hands, strong, a little rough from work. Now they will be working with drawings and a keyboard. The food arrives. It's good. Mia eats with gusto, smearing sauce across her cheek. Kira straightens her napkin. She eats slowly, stretching out the moment. She wants to remember everything: the gleam of the spoon, the warm lighting, her daughter's contented face. This evening is like a reward, proof that she's on the right path. It is at this moment, when she feels the first timid wave of calm, that a noise rises at the entrance. The administrator's voice, the same one that led them to the table, sounds louder, tensely polite. "My deepest apologies, sir, but your table is unfortunately occupied. There was a system glitch." Kira looks up from her plate. A man stands at the entrance, alone, in a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, a white shirt without a tie. He's not old, maybe 30, Asian with short black hair. He doesn't say anything. He just listens. "We can offer you a seat at the bar, or perhaps you have a reservation." The manager's voice loses confidence. The man slowly turns his head and looks into the room. His gaze glides over the tables, over the faces. He's searching for something, or someone. His gaze is cold, sharp, like a blade. He stops for a moment at a table by the window, where a loud group is seated. They're celebrating something. Then his gaze returns to the manager. "No backup. I said I'd come," the man says. His voice is quiet, even, and unaccented, but there's steel in it. He doesn't raise his voice, but every word falls like a weight. The manager turns pale. "I understand, sir. It's our mistake. But unfortunately, all the tables." "I see a free table. By the window," the man says, pointing his chin to the side. "It's the best table in the room. He's booked in 15 minutes. The man is silent. He looks out into the room again, and this time, his gaze, gliding, briefly meets Kira's. She immediately looks away, her heart skipping a beat. But the image is already etched in her memory. She didn't see anger, not the fierce, burning anger she sometimes saw in people, and not arrogance. In his cold, dark eyes, at that moment when he realized he was about to be humiliated in front of the entire room, she saw something else: emptiness and pain. The sharp, familiar pain of loneliness when you're celebrating something very important and no one is around. The pain she herself had felt on Mia's birthday, when only she and her grandmother were congratulating her on the phone. Mia tugs at her sleeve. Mom, what happened to that guy? It's nothing, honey, just a minor problem, Kira whispers, but continues to watch out of the corner of her eye. The man listens as the administrator haltingly offers him a wonderful spot at the far end of the room, near the entrance to the back office. It's an insult, and he knows it. His shoulders sag just a millimeter. It's a barely perceptible movement of weariness, disappointment. He doesn't argue. He simply turns to leave. His back shows a determination never to return. And at that moment, Kira does something completely crazy. The voice of reason screams in her head. It screams about safety, about not approaching strange men, especially men like this one. It screams about her having a daughter, for whose sake she must be careful. It screams that her little holiday could be ruined. But another voice, quiet and insistent, tells her something else. It reminds her of that look, the pain, the loneliness. It reminds her of how once, many years ago, when she was at her wit's end, a stranger on the bus gave her a handkerchief and simply said, "Everything will be all right." That small gesture saved something in her then, and she feels it's important. Inexplicably, intuitively, but important. She gets up from her chair. Mia, stay here, okay? Mom, just a minute. She walks across the hall. Her shoes click on the floor. She feels people staring at her. Someone giggles from the table with the noisy group. The man in the suit is almost at the exit, his hand reaching for the door handle. Sorry! Her voice sounds clear. He stops and turns around slowly. His face is a mask. No surprise, no interest. Just a question. Kira moves closer. Now she sees the details. The perfect haircut, the clean-shaven face, the expensive watch on the wrist, and those eyes. Up close, they seem even more inscrutable. My daughter and I are almost done, Kira says, stumbling slightly. She gestures to her table in the corner, where Mia looks at them curiously. If you don't mind, our table is free. It's not the best, but... She doesn't finish. He looks at her. Then his gaze moves to Mia. The girl waves timidly. He looks at the receptionist, frozen at the counter with his mouth open, then back to Kira. A few seconds of silence pass. Kira is ready to regret her impulsiveness. He asks finally, one single, direct question. Kira shrugs, trying to find simple words. It looked like today was supposed to be a special day. It's unpleasant to spend it alone at the kitchen entrance. She almost echoes his own unspoken thoughts. He looks at her again. The mask on his face shows a tiny crack. Something deep in his eyes changes. It doesn't get warmer, but it becomes more complex. A special day, he repeats quietly, as if testing the words. Then he nods, one short nod. Thank you. He follows her to the table. He doesn't walk, he moves. His steps are silent, smooth, every movement measured and economical. He doesn't sway, doesn't slouch. He's like a big cat. Kira sits down next to Mia, freeing up the space opposite. Mia, this is... She faltered, realizing she didn't know his name. Chon, he says, sitting down. He doesn't extend his hand. He simply says the name. He sits up straight, his back not touching the back of the chair. Kira, and this is Mia. Jong looks at the girl and bows his head slightly. Hello, Mia, Mia whispers, snuggling close to her mother. There's an awkward pause. Kira realizes their plates haven't been cleared yet. She catches the waiter's eye and gives him a subtle signal. He nods and quickly heads over. Meanwhile, Chon scans the room. His eyes don't wander. They methodically scan the space, the exits, the other customers, the staff. He notices everything. He notices a man at the bar who stares at them for too long. He notices a camera on the ceiling. His gaze stops on the manager, who is hurriedly talking on the phone, casting nervous glances at their table. Chon watches this without emotion, like an engineer looking at a diagram. The waiter clears the dishes and brings a new menu. Chon doesn't even open it. Coffee, black, and... He looks at Kira and Mia. What will you have? Dessert? Oh, no, thank you. We already... Kira begins. Ice cream, Mia blurts out happily. Kira looks at her reproachfully, but Chon is already nodding to the waiter. Ice cream? Vanilla. And something for the lady? He looks at Kira. Tea? Coffee? His politeness is impeccable, but there's no warmth to it. There's only precision, as if he's following protocol. Tea, please. Thank you, says Kira. The waiter leaves. Another silence falls. Mia looks at Chon with interest. He tolerates her gaze, then slowly turns his head and looks directly at her. Do you like drawing? He asks, looking at the decorated napkins. Mia nods. I'll draw you a picture. Mia, don't interfere, Kira begins, but Chon gives that barely noticeable nod again. Okay, he says, and this good sounds like an order given to oneself. Mia enthusiastically grabs a clean napkin and a marker. She leans over the table, her tongue hanging out in concentration. Kira wants to disappear into thin air. She invited a stranger, and now her daughter is making him wait while she draws him a masterpiece. Chon doesn't rush. He sits motionless, staring straight ahead, but Kira notices how his peripheral vision continues to track the proceedings in the room. His fingers rest on the table, not drumming, not moving. They simply lie there, relaxed but alert. Mia announces after a couple of minutes. She solemnly extends a napkin across the table. It depicts something vaguely resembling a stick figure with a large head. Next to it is a yellow circle and green scribbles, likely representing grass. In the figure's hand is a blue ball. Mia explains, "And that's the sun, and it's your birthday! And that's a balloon. It's blue." Chon looks at the drawing. He stares for a long time. Too long. Kira is ready to apologize for her childish simplicity. Then he slowly, very carefully, reaches out. He takes the napkin not by the corner, but carefully, with 2 fingers, as if it were ancient parchment. He places it on the clean surface of the table in front of him and smooths it out. "Thank you," he says. His voice sounds a little different, quiet, almost soft. He looks at the blue ball. "It's very beautiful." Mia is beaming. The waiter brings the order. He places a small cup of black coffee in front of Chon, tea in front of Kira, in front of Mia, a tall bowl of vanilla ice cream, and tiny cookies. Jong doesn't touch his coffee. He watches Mia enthusiastically dig into her ice cream with her spoon. Then his gaze shifts to Kira. "Do you come here often?" he asks. "No, it's my first time," Kira replies, stirring her tea. "It's a celebration of sorts. I got my first paycheck at my new job today." "Congratulations," says Chon. His greeting sounds formal, like a business letter. "What do you do?" "I'm an assistant designer at the architectural firm Spectre Design." He nods, as if making a mental note. "Interesting. What street is the office on?" The question is simple, ordinary, but it's asked to you casually, without the usual curiosity, as if he wants information, not conversation. "On Central Avenue, in the Tower Business Center," Kira replies, a slight chill running down her spine. Why would he do that? Far from home? Not really. Half an hour by bus. Convenient. Does anyone help with our daughter? Take her to and from kindergarten? He takes a small sip of coffee. His eyes never leave hers. Kira slowly dips her spoon into her tea. Her inner unease grows. This is no longer a polite conversation. This is an interrogation. Polite, quiet, but an interrogation nonetheless. "I can handle it myself. The kindergarten is next to the house." Her voice becomes a little harsher. Chon notices this. He pauses, looking at her. Then his gaze softens for a split second. "Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. It's just, you were doing me a favor. I'm used to knowing who I'm dealing with." This explanation sounds even stranger. Who am I dealing with? As if they were making a deal, not sitting at the same table. "I'm an ordinary mother who works," Kira says bluntly. "Nothing special?" Chon looks at Mia's drawing, then back at her. "No, not ordinary." Mia likes kindergarten, what her favorite cartoon is. The conversation becomes easier, but the tension doesn't subside. Kira sips tea and ponders how to end this strange encounter quickly and politely. The ice cream is gone. The tea is finished. Chon catches the waiter's eye and makes an almost imperceptible gesture, asking for the bill. He pays in cash, without looking at the total, leaving a large bill under his cup. "Let me walk you out," he says, standing up. Kira wants to refuse, but he's already standing, waiting. His posture leaves no room for argument. She gathers her things and helps Mia put on her jacket. They go outside. The evening is cool. A black car, large and expensive, is parked right at the entrance. There's no one around. Chon turns to them. "Thanks for the company. And for the drawing." He gives that slight, formal bow again. "All the best," Kira says, taking Mia's hand. She turns to leave, and in that last moment, as the streetlight falls on his hand, stretched out to open the car door, she sees it. On his right wrist, just above the hem of his shirt and watch strap, there's a scar. It's not bright or raised. It's old, whitish, almost blending into the skin. But its shape is strange. It's not a straight line from a cut. It's a spiral, or maybe a whorl. Neat, precise, as if done intentionally. Like a tattoo, but it's not a tattoo. It's a scar. He notices her gaze. Instantly, as if he felt it on his skin. He lowers his hand, and the cuff of his shirt hides the mark. His face is expressionless. He simply looks at her. No one says a word. Then he nods one last time and gets into the car. The door closes silently. The car pulls smoothly away from the curb and disappears into the evening traffic. Kira stands and watches them go. Mia pulls her by the hand. "Mom, is he a good person?" Kira shudders. "I don't know, honey. I don't know." She feels a strange mixture of relief and anxiety. The meeting is over. Her little celebration didn't turn out as she planned, but it will be memorable. She sighs and squeezes her daughter's hand tighter. "Let's go home. There's cake waiting for us." The day had been long. Mia fell asleep on the bus, and Kira carried her the last 100 meters to her modest 5-story apartment building. In her pocket, she had a bill she'd withdrawn from the ATM that morning, her first paycheck. It was barely spent. It gave her a sense of solid ground under her feet. She approaches her building entrance, rummages through her bag for her keys, and then her gaze falls on a car parked at the curb. She freezes, big, black, with dark windows. That very one. Chon's car. She's standing right under the street lamp, 5 meters from the entrance. It's dark inside. No one is visible. The engine is off. Kira's heart starts pounding. What's he doing here? How did he know where she lives? She never gave out her address anywhere. She looks around. The street is deserted. Lights are on only in a couple of windows. She quickly, almost running, enters the entrance, slams the door, and leans her back against it, listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No sound of an engine. She peers cautiously through the peephole in the door. The car is still there, motionless, dark, like a predator lurking in the shadows. Mia groans on her shoulder. Kira forces herself to move. She climbs the stairs to the 3rd floor, to her apartment. She locks the door with all the locks and the bolt. She goes to the window and pulls back the curtain. The car is still there. She stands there for about 10 minutes, watching. No one comes in or out. The car windows are opaque. Then, suddenly, the parking lights flash on for a second. The car starts smoothly, turns, and drives away. It disappears around the corner. Kira lowers the curtain. Her hands are shaking. All the good feelings from this evening evaporate, replaced by a chilling fear. He found her. He was at her house. Why? Mia's drawing lies on the table, where Kira placed it while taking things out of her bag. The blue balloon now seems less funny and more ominous. She walks over and picks up a napkin to clean it up. She notices that on the back, where Mia hadn't drawn, there's another drawing. It's light, barely noticeable, drawn in pencil, and she's never seen it before. This isn't a child's drawing. It's a diagram. Clear lines, rectangles, arrows. She looks closer, and she realizes she's looking at a neat, detailed map of her neighborhood. Her street is marked. Her house is marked with an X. Kira stands and looks at the drawing. The pencil lines are thin but confident. This is not a sketch. This is a blueprint. She sees her street, the neighboring park, the bus stop, and this cross. Right on her house. She feels a shiver run down her spine. This isn't just weirdness. This is surveillance. This is a message. He's telling her, "I know where you live." Mia is already asleep in her room. Kira takes the napkin and carefully, trying not to crumple it, tucks it into the back of her documents. Her heart beats unevenly. What should she do? Call the police? And say what? I was given a drawing on a napkin? She can't sleep all night. Every noise outside the window seems to her like the sound of that black car. The morning brings no clarity. Kira takes Mia to the garden, kisses her a little more deeply than usual, and heads off to work. The office in the Tower Business Center always feels like foreign territory to her. Glass, steel, the quiet hum of the air conditioners. She walks to her modest workstation in the common room. There's a vase on the table, a large glass one. It contains a bouquet. Not just any bouquet, but a work of art. White orchids, scarlet roses, greenery she doesn't recognize. It's huge, expensive, and completely out of place on her desk with the blueprints and cheap plastic mug. Her colleagues glance sideways. Someone smirks. Kira feels herself blushing. "They brought it this morning, for you," says the girl at the next table, Sarah. Her voice is laced with curiosity and envy. Kira looks at the flowers silently. She's not happy. She's scared. She looks for the card. She finds a small envelope. Inside is a blank white sheet of paper. No name, no signature, nothing. "From a secret admirer?" Sarah asks. "Probably," Kira answers hoarsely. Her hands are icy. She knows who these flowers are from. The question is, what are they for? And how did he know where she works? She was sure she hadn't mentioned the name of the company, only her occupation. She places the vase on the floor next to the table, trying not to look at it. The flowers smell too strong. The scent now seems like a threat to her. An hour later, her boss, Mr. Davis, calls her in. He's an older man with tired eyes and a perpetual cup of coffee in his hand. He usually treats her with the cool politeness of an intern. Today he smiles. "Kira, come in, sit down." She sits down, feeling out of place. "Look," Davis begins, twirling a pen in his fingers. "An interesting project has come up, small but important. A private client, renovating a townhouse in a historic district. Normally, I'd give it to someone more senior," he pauses, looking at her. "But I received a very high recommendation for you. Very high. The client insists that you lead the project." Kira feels her breath catch in her throat. "A recommendation? From whom?" Davis shrugs. "Confidential. The client values privacy, but the source is reliable. You've made a strong impression on someone, Kira. Now's your chance." He hands her a folder with preliminary sketches. She takes it mechanically. Her fingers go numb. "Why me?" She hears her own voice. "I've only been here a month. Sometimes one evening is enough to understand a person," Davis says mysteriously, turning back to the monitor, clearly indicating that the conversation is over. Kira leaves the office with a folder in her hands. Her colleagues look at her differently now, not with envy, but with wariness. She's gotten something without going the usual route. This breaks the rules, and everyone feels uncomfortable. She returns to her desk. Her gaze falls on the bouquet again. The white orchids now seem to her like cold porcelain. This is not a gift. This is payment. A down payment. For what? Kira tries to work all day, but her thoughts are in a tangle. She picks Mia up from kindergarten. The girl is happy, chatting about her friends and her craft. Kira listens with half an ear. She keeps glancing around. The cars on the street seem suspicious to her. The people in dark clothes. His people. They return home. Kira cooks dinner, bathes Mia, and reads her a story. The ritual helps her calm down. Maybe she's exaggerating? Perhaps the flowers are just a gesture of gratitude? And the project? A coincidence? When Mia finally falls asleep, Kira goes into the kitchen to drink tea. The silence in the apartment is deafening. She sits and looks out the window at the dark street. Her phone vibrates on the table. An unfamiliar number. An icy lump rises in her throat. She looks at the screen. The vibration continues. Once, twice. She slowly brings the phone to her ear. "Hello? Kira!" The voice is quiet, even. It's impossible to recognize it. It's him. She doesn't answer. Her tongue sticks to the roof of her mouth. "Did you get the flowers?" Chon asks. There's no threat in his voice, just a calm statement. "Yes," she manages to say. "Did Mia like them?" This question finishes her off, like a nail entering wood. Precise, cold. "How did you know where I work?" she whispers, her voice shaking with rage and fear. There's a moment's pause on the other end. "That's not important. What matters is that you now have a good project. You need to develop. I didn't ask you to interfere in my life," she almost shouts, but then lowers her voice, afraid of waking Mia. "You invited me to your table," he reminds me, in the same even tone. "It was important. You're protected now." "What protection? What does this mean?" Her whisper becomes a hiss. "Good night, Kira. Tell Mia I asked about the flowers." The line goes dead. She sits, clutching the phone in her hand until her knuckles are white. He doesn't deny. He doesn't explain. He simply states the facts. He observes. He acts. And he mentions Mia. Always Mia. She jumps up, remembering the drawing. She takes the napkin out of the folder. She places it on the table under the bright lamp. Now, knowing what to look for, she sees everything. It's not just a plan. It's a surveillance map. The cross is her house. The little circles on the street corners are probably cameras or guard posts. Arrows indicate directions. There's a small square near her entrance. Perhaps that's where he drove that night. And in the lower right corner, almost on the fold, there's another detail. A small symbol, that very one. The spiral. Like the scar on his arm. She traces her finger along the pencil lines. It's not a love letter, it's a control map. He drew it up, sitting at their table while Mia was drawing her balloon. He was studying her neighborhood, planning something, and he left it to her. On purpose. Why? To show off his power? To make her know he's watching? To make her feel indebted? She doesn't know, but she knows one thing. She's trapped. a trap she opened herself, showing foolish, naive pity. The next morning, as she's taking Mia into the garden, she notices something strange. The door to the apartment across the street is wide open. An old, dirty sofa is being carried out. Her neighbor, elderly Mr. Eddie, always grumbling and always peeping through the peephole, stands in the doorway with a suitcase when she arrives. He looks scared. Not angry, but scared. "Mr. Eddie? Are you moving?" Kira couldn't help but ask. He shudders, looking at her with a strange, empty gaze. "Yes." Suddenly, very suddenly, "Found, a good option." Two men in simple but very neat clothes stand next to him. They aren't movers. They watch silently. One of them looks directly at Kira. His gaze is flat, appraising. He nods slightly, as if acknowledging her existence, and turns away. Kira quickly takes Mia away. She thinks about it all day at work. Mr. Eddie lived here for 20 years. He hated moving. What could have made him move out suddenly? That evening, returning home, she sees new neighbors. They are bringing in boxes. They are two young men, dressed in dark trousers and polo shirts. They move quietly, efficiently. They do not speak. They notice her, exchange quick glances, and one of them, the taller one, gives the same barely perceptible nod. A familiar nod. She enters her apartment and locks the door. Now they live across the street. His people. She's no longer simply under surveillance. She's in a cage. A cozy, seemingly safe one, but a cage nonetheless. The walls of her world have begun to close in. Several days pass. The tension doesn't subside, but nothing happens. The flowers at work have wilted, so she throws them out. The new project proves challenging and interesting, so she immerses herself in work to avoid thinking. On Friday, she's late, picking Mia up from kindergarten almost last. It's already dark. They take a shortcut through a small park between the houses. The streetlights here always flicker, and today one is completely out. Kira holds Mia's hand tighter and quickens her pace. She hears footsteps behind her, fast. More than one person. "Mom," Mia whispers fearfully. "Don't look back. Let's go fast," Kira says, her heart pounding somewhere in her throat. Footsteps approach. Two men emerge from the shadows, blocking their path, one at the side. They look ordinary, hoodies, sweatpants, but their eyes gleam with aggression. "Where are we rushing to, beauty? Check your bag," says the one in front, extending his hand. Kira hugs Mia, trying to retreat, but there's someone behind her too. Deadlock. At this moment, everything happens so fast that her brain does not have time to process it. From behind the bushes, where it seemed no one could be, two shadows appear. They don't shout, don't demand that anyone stop. They simply move. One of the attackers turns around and receives a short, precise blow to the solar plexus. He folds over silently. The second robber tries to shout something, but his arm is deftly twisted behind his back, and the hand of the other shadow man covers his mouth tightly. All the movements are clean, without unnecessary violence. Effective. The first defender addresses Kira. His face is shadowed, his voice low and emotionless. "Go home." Down the main street. She doesn't move, paralyzed by fear and shock. "Right now," he says, a little more sternly, but not threateningly. A statement. Kira grabs Mia in her arms and practically runs out of the park. She doesn't look back. She runs out onto the illuminated main street. Only there, at the entrance to her building, does she stop to catch her breath. Mia is crying quietly, frightened. Kira turns around. The square in the distance is dark and silent. No screams, no groans, nothing, as if nothing had happened. But it was. Those two in the park were his people. They were watching them, and they protected them. She doesn't feel relief. She feels terror. Real, deep terror. Her rescue was planned. She's a pawn in some game whose rules she doesn't know. She can't take it anymore. She goes into the apartment, puts the crying Mia to bed, gives her water, and comforts her. Then, when the girl finally falls asleep, she picks up the phone. Her hands are shaking, but she finds the number. The last call. He picks up the phone on the first ring. "Kira," as if he'd been waiting. "Who are you?" Her voice was hoarse with suppressed emotion. "Who are you really?" A pause. "I'm the one who provides security. Your security. You've been guarding me? You've evicted my neighbor? You're keeping tabs on me and my daughter," she gasps. "Yes," he answers simply. No pride, no regret, just a fact. "Why? I didn't ask you to do this. You invited me to the table." He repeats the mantra again. "You showed me normality. A normality I don't remember. I want to protect it. It's under my protection now. your neighborhood, your home, you, your daughter, forever. This isn't protection. This is a prison, she whispers furiously. It's safety, he corrects. For the first time, his voice sounds firmer. The world I live in, it's not for the likes of you, but I can make sure it doesn't affect you. That's my choice, and my responsibility. She's silent, trying to process his words. The world you live in, the boss, the mafia, all the details come together to form a clear, terrifying picture. I don't need your protection, she says, but her voice no longer has the strength it once had. She saw his men's work today. It was terrifying and effective. It's too late, Kira. The enemy has seen my weakness. They saw that evening at the restaurant. They see that I have a point of vulnerability. Now you and Mia are targets. My protection is the only thing standing between you and them. At any cost. The word enemies sounds chilling. Not bandits, not robbers. Enemies, with their own strength, their own resources. At any cost? She asks again. Anyone, he confirms. I won't let anyone take away this feeling of normalcy, even if it only lasted for one dinner. She understands. She and Mia are no longer just casual acquaintances. They are a symbol of something human he has lost. And now he will protect this symbol with the same fanaticism with which he conducts his dark deeds. They have become his property, his most precious. What do I owe for this? She asks, her voice sounding tired. Nothing. Just live. Work. Raise your daughter. Be that normal person, he says. And for the first time, something resembling vulnerability can be heard in his voice. Then he hangs up. Kira sits in the darkness. She's safe. She has a protector who can do anything. And she's never felt so helpless and so confused in her life. Morning brings another blow. At work, she needs to submit paperwork for insurance. She goes to her locker where she keeps her personal belongings. A small gray folder marked personal should be at the top. She's not here. She rummages through the shelf, looks at the floor, under the table. The folder is gone. It contained her university diploma, a copy, old employment contracts, Mia's medical records, and most importantly, the court documents. The decision establishing sole custody of Mia after her father renounced his parental rights. This is her most important document, her shield. Kira approaches Sarah. Have you seen my gray folder? Sarah shakes her head. No. The cleaning lady was here last night. Maybe she moved something? The cleaning lady, good old Mrs. Gloria, doesn't know anything either. Kira goes to see Mr. Davis. Daddy? He frowns. That's weird. Nothing ever goes missing from the office. Maybe you took it home? But Kira knows she didn't take it. She feels a sickening emptiness in her stomach. It's no accident. She returns to her seat and calls Chon. He picks up the phone immediately. My folder with documents went missing at work. Do you know anything about it? A pause. A long one. What documents? He asks, his voice becoming cautious. Everything, including the court's custody order for Mia. The next pause is even longer. When he speaks, his voice sounds different, focused, hard. These aren't my people, and that's bad. What's wrong? She whispers, feeling the floor shift from under her feet. If it's not me, then it's them. They're starting to gather information. They're looking for weaknesses. Any leverage? He falls silent, and she hears him say something to someone nearby in a quick, clipped tone in Korean. Then back to her. Don't do anything. Don't tell anyone. Go home as usual. Now! He hangs up. Kira sits, staring at the empty space in her locker. Her documents, her past, her right to be a mother to her daughter. This is no longer just surveillance and protection. The game has entered a new phase. The enemies he spoke of now know her greatest fear, and they may have a weapon in their hands against her. She stares at the computer screen, at the blueprints of her new project. This project, her career, her small victory, all of it is now part of the battlefield in a war she hadn't even suspected when she felt sorry for the lonely man in the restaurant. Kira leaves work feeling dazed. The loss of her documents isn't just a theft. It's an invasion of her most intimate secret, her past, her right to be a mother. All of it could now be anywhere, in the wrong hands. She picks Mia up from kindergarten. The girl is unusually lively today. Mom, I have a new friend, Mia says, jumping along the road. Really? What's her name? Kira asks automatically, mentally running through her options. Call the police? Tell Chon to find the documents? But he said nothing. Liam, she's Korean like that uncle. We played with dolls. The name Liam Rings alarm bells in Kira's ears. She stops. And, does her mom pick her up? No, Dad, he's big. And he's quiet. He nodded to me as we were leaving. The next day, Kira arrives at the kindergarten early. She stands to the side, watching the playground. Mia is playing in the sandbox with a little girl with neat black pigtails. The girl is dressed modestly, but very neatly. A man stands nearby, leaning against the fence. He's indeed large, broad-shouldered. He's wearing simple dark pants and a dark jacket. He's not looking at his phone. He's looking at the children, but his gaze periodically, with methodical precision, glides over the kindergarten grounds, the other parents, and the exit. It's the gaze of a professional, a security guard, or a soldier. When Mia notices her mother and runs toward her, the man turns his head. His eyes meet Kira's. There's no threat in them, no friendliness, only a flat, indifferent assessment. And something else, respect. Not for her personally, but for her status, for the one whose protection she enjoys. He tilts his head slightly, almost imperceptibly, that same nod. Then he takes his daughter's hand and leaves without looking back. Kira stands rooted to the spot. Now they've infiltrated here too. The safest place, in her opinion. Her daughter has become friends with the daughter of one of his men. This isn't a coincidence. It's part of the system. Protection entangles every thread of her life. 2 days later, when Kira returned home, she found an official notice on her door from the city utilities service. The fine print stated that the pipes and electrical wiring in her building were scheduled to be replaced. The work would begin tomorrow and take 1 day. We apologize for the temporary inconvenience. She winces. No one warned her. No one asked for permission. But these are city services. The next morning, Saturday, at 7 o'clock, there's a knock on the door. 3 men in clean blue overalls with the service logo stand behind it. They're polite and show credentials, which she doesn't have time to properly examine. They have a key to this basement, and, they claim, approval from the management company. We'll be quick, ma'am. We'll be done by lunchtime. You'd better take the baby for a walk. The work is incredibly fast and quiet. They don't tear down walls or stir up any dirt. They have modern equipment, which Kira had never seen in a plumber. They replace all the pipes in the kitchen and bathroom and install new wiring in the walls. Everything is done carefully and professionally. Kira and Mia go to the park. When they return at 3 o'clock, it's all over. The men have already left. The apartment is sparkling clean. On the desk lies a folder with warranty cards for the new equipment and documents about the work performed. All free. No bills. She looks around the apartment. Everything is perfect. Too perfect. The new pipes shine. The outlets are new, safe, and child-proof. She opens the electrical panel in the stairwell. It's also new, with modern circuit breakers. She calls the management company. The girl on the other end of the line is confused. Yes, there was work scheduled, but not this week. Maybe the schedule was pushed back? Kira hangs up. It's not the city services. It's his people. They modernized her house, made it safer, more reliable. They invested in her property. This is another step. Now her house is physically theirs as well as legally. They know every corner, every wiring. On Monday evening, as Kira was heating up dinner, the doorbell rang. It was insistent and rude. She looks through the peephole and freezes. He stands behind the door. Mark, Mia's father. He looks worn, haggard. There's a familiar glint in his eyes, a mixture of insolence and eternal victimhood. She opens the door but doesn't let him in, blocking the doorway. What do you want, Mark? Hey, Kira. He grins, looking her up and down. You're looking good. I heard you got a good job. Got some money. I don't have any money for you. What do you mean not? His voice becomes nasal. I'm your daughter's father. I have the right to help, especially in a difficult situation, and my situation is very difficult. You gave up your parental rights. You have no rights. Go away. Mark braces his hand against the doorframe. If you don't settle, I'll find a way. I have friends. They'll help remind me of my rights, or of your sins. I think social services would be happy to talk. Kira's stomach clenches. He knows how to hit her, and now, with the documents missing, his threat sounds 1,000 times more terrifying. I don't have any money right now, she says, trying to buy time. Tomorrow. I'll come by tomorrow. And it would be better if there was something to greet me with. He takes one last appraising look and whistling leaves. Kira closes the door and slides down to the floor. It's a nightmare. Her past, which she's been running from all these years, has returned at the most inopportune moment, and it could connect with her new, terrible present. An hour later, her phone rings. An unfamiliar number. She picks it up, expecting Mark's voice. But it's him. He's breathing heavily, his words slurred. Kier, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Forget it. Forget I came. I won't come again. Never. I promise. Just forget it. And he hangs up. Kira sits in complete silence. This isn't his remorse. It's fear. Pure animal fear. Someone or something met Mark after he left her and explained the new rules of the game to him. It was Chong's work, fast, brutal, efficient. He eliminated the threat with his usual ease. After the incident with Mark, Kira can no longer deceive herself. She puts together the facts: the neighbor's disappearance and his replacement, the renovation, the protection in the park, the new friend in the garden, the instant solution to the problem with her ex, the missing documents, which Chon had no control over, proving the game is going on at a higher level than she thought. This isn't just the patronage of a rich man. It's a system, a parallel reality existing alongside ordinary life. In this reality, Chon isn't just a boss. He's the source of power, power that can move people, change infrastructure, intimidate, and protect. Power that's quiet, all-pervasive, like water. It doesn't shout about itself. It simply changes the landscape around you, and you understand that resistance is futile. He doesn't ask, he acts. He creates a safe, perfect cage world for her and Mia, and he will do everything to preserve this experiment with normalcy, at any cost. Just as he said, she's afraid of him, but now, after Mark, she also realizes she's afraid of the world without his protection. That's the most terrifying discovery. The week passes relatively calmly. Kira works on the project, picks up Mia, and spends evenings with her. But tensions are growing. She notices more unfamiliar cars in the neighborhood, people lingering at bus stops, waiting for nothing. One night, deep after midnight, she is awakened not by the doorbell, but by a quiet but insistent knock. 3 distinct knocks, then 3 more. She approaches the door and peers through the peephole. Chon is standing there. He's jacketless, wearing a dark shirt, and at first glance, he looks calm. But his eyes are filled with the same steel they had in the restaurant, only now it's sharpened to the extreme. And something else, something resembling haste. She opens the door. He doesn't come in. "Get ready," he says. One single word. His voice is low, leaving no room for questions. "What? Why?" she whispers. But he's already turned and looking down the stairwell, listening. "Now, just what's necessary, for me and for Mia. 5 minutes." It was at that moment that the lights went out outside. Not just in her apartment. In the entire block, the street was plunged into pitch darkness. No streetlights, no lights in the windows of the neighboring houses. Complete, unnatural silence. This is not an accident. It's a signal. A very bad signal. Kira's heart sinks. She nods, unable to utter a word, and runs to wake Mia. 7 minutes later, they emerge from the apartment. Mia, sleepy and frightened, is in Kira's arms. Chon walks ahead, moving unerringly in the darkness, like a cat. 2 of his men, those new neighbors, are waiting for them in the stairwell. They silently pick up 2 hastily packed bags. Down in the courtyard, parked not a black sedan, but a dark SUV with tinted windows. The engine hums almost silently. They are seated in the back seat. Chon climbs in the front. The car starts moving without turning on its headlights and pulls out onto the dark street. They drive through deserted night streets, then out of town. Kira holds Mia, who has fallen asleep again, close. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't need answers now. She senses danger in the air, thick and dense. 40 minutes later, they turn onto an inconspicuous road in the forest. The gate in the high fence opens before them. They enter the property. This isn't a luxurious villa in the classic sense. It's a large, squat concrete building with sparse, narrow windows. It looks more like a bunker or a fortified outpost. Around the perimeter are cameras, invisible to the untrained eye. They are met by 2 more men. All are silent, focused. The interior is clean and spacious, but without any frills. The furniture is modern and minimalist, nothing superfluous. Chon leads them into the bedroom. 2 single beds, private bathroom. "You'll be safe here," he says, his voice sounding tired. "What's going on, Chon?" Kira finally asks. He looks at her, then at the sleeping Mia. His face, usually inscrutable, seems haggard. "My world was shaken. Because of you. Because of that evening." He doesn't leave. He stands in the doorway. as if it takes effort for him to talk about it. I have enemies, competitors. They always wait for weakness. One wrong move, and they attack. He pauses. That night at the restaurant, the refusal, my reaction. For them, it was a signal. They saw that I had emotions, that there was something that could upset me. They started watching. They saw you. Kira understands. She and Mia have become this weakness, living proof that the Iron Man Chon has a weak spot. The missing documents, that's them. They're looking for leverage, to put pressure on me through you, or just to harm me. Turning off the lights was a show of force. They showed they could reach your home. The next step would have been different. Why don't you just leave us alone? Kira whispers. Back off. And they will back off. He shakes his head. He looks almost human now. I can't. It's too late. You're under my protection. If I retreat, they'll decide you're unimportant, or they'll use you to inflict an even more painful blow. Now the only way to keep you safe is to be stronger, to show them that any move against you will cost them dearly. But to do that, you need to disappear until I sort this out. He says, I'll figure it out, in a tone that makes Kira's blood run cold. Chon leaves, leaving them alone. The house is quiet, only the hum of a generator somewhere downstairs. Mia is asleep. Kira can't sleep. Her phone has a weak signal. She can't make calls, but she can access the internet. Panicked, driven by a need to understand what kind of mess they've gotten themselves into, she searches the news. Keywords: Korean businessman, organized crime group, trial. She flips through the pages until her eyes begin to hurt. And suddenly, she comes across an archive photo from 5 years ago. A report on a charity event. The photo shows a group of men in tuxedos. In the center is a smiling, well-known businessman who was recently sentenced to 20 years for large-scale fraud and money laundering. And slightly to the side, in the background, is a young man with a serious face. He's looking not at the camera, but somewhere off to the side. It's Chon. Much younger, but it's him. The caption under the photo is standard. Partners and sponsors are also present in the photo. Kira enlarges the photo. Chon doesn't stand there like a guest. He stands there like part of an entourage. Like security? No. Like an equal eye, but one who prefers to remain in the shadows. His posture, his gaze, everything suggests he's here for a reason. She reads an article about a convicted businessman. It mentions a complex network of companies, pressure on witnesses, and the disappearance of evidence. It says his trial was only possible after more senior figures in his circle didn't intervene or gave the go-ahead. Kira puts her phone down. Her hands are icy. Jong isn't just providing security. He's part of this system, perhaps that bigger figure. His world is one of deals, quiet power, fixing problems. And that evening at the restaurant, his weakness, it could all be part of something bigger. Was their meeting a coincidence? Or did he, upon seeing her with Mia, instantly grasp the potential of this image? A single mother, a sweet girl, the perfect human cover for a man in his position, to show that he has a normal life? In the morning, Chon brings them breakfast. He looks collected, impenetrable again, but Kira now sees something she hadn't seen before. A slight shadow under his eyes, tension at the corners of his mouth. He's worried, not just about their safety, about everything. We spoke with the management company, he says, setting down the tray. Your apartment is fine. The power has been restored. It's all been attributed to an accident at the substation. He says this without looking at her. Chon, she says quietly, you used us as cover? He freezes, then slowly looks up at her. There's no surprise in his eyes. There's a tired understanding. At first, yes, he admits with alarming candor. The idea came to me then, in the restaurant. You were the perfect picture, the one I could say about, these are my friends, simple, normal people. They're a valuable asset in my world. Kira felt sickened by this admission. They were an asset to him, a tool. But then, he continues, his voice quieter, it stopped being a picture. Mia gave me a drawing. You didn't demand anything. You just were. This feeling, it turned out to be real. And I realized I couldn't let my world ruin this, even if that was the original plan. He looks at his hands. My concern is real. My fear for you is real. And that's worse, because now I'm truly vulnerable. Kira listens. Her hatred and disgust are mixed with something else. Understanding. He's trapped just like she is. Only his trap is himself, his situation, his world. And now they're connected. She has no choice but to trust him, because they share the same enemies. He has no choice but to protect them to the end, because they've become part of his own, unimagined humanity. It is a choice without a choice. Jong spends the day in a separate room he calls his office. He talks on secure lines, making plans. Kira hears snatches of Korean his smooth, commanding voice. He protects them, but Kira is tired of being a pawn, a passive victim, moved around the board. She has a daughter, and rage is beginning to stir within her, a quiet, cold, maternal rage. She decides to explore the house. Under the pretext of being bored, she wanders through the rooms. Everything is clean and sterile. In the living room, on a bookshelf, among unread tomes, she notices a small, alien-looking object. Small, black, like an oversized computer mouse. A cord runs from it behind a shelf. This isn't his equipment. He wouldn't put such a primitive device out in the open. Her heart beats faster. It's a listening device. So are they already here? Or are his people listening to her? No, they have more sophisticated methods. She doesn't touch the device. She returns to the bedroom and begins quietly, carefully checking her things. The bags they took with them. Their clothes. In the pocket of her light jacket, which she grabbed hastily, she finds another identical black bug. It was with them in the car. It was in her house. Kira takes it, holding it in a handkerchief to avoid leaving fingerprints. She thinks quickly. If she gives it to Chon, he'll simply destroy it. The enemies will realize they've been discovered and come up with something else. An idea is born in her mind. Desperate, risky. During the day, she goes out with Mia into the villa's courtyard, surrounded by a high fence. The sounds of the forest can be heard beyond the fence, and also the quiet sound of a trimmer. Someone is trimming the bushes outside. After a while, the gardener appears. An elderly man in work clothes, carrying a tool cart. He doesn't look like Chon's men. He looks like an ordinary hired hand. He enters the grounds through the gate to collect bags of grass. One of Chon's guards watches him idly. Kira comes closer, ostensibly to show Mia the flowers. As the gardener bends over his cart and the guard turns away for a moment to answer his walkie-talkie, she quickly and discreetly slips a bug wrapped in a handkerchief into the open pocket of the gardener's work jacket. Her heart is pounding in her temples. The gardener doesn't notice anything. He leaves through the gate, his pickup truck parked on the dirt road. Kira returns to the house, shaking with adrenaline. If her guess is correct, and the enemies are monitoring the perimeter, they will intercept the signal from this device and follow a false trail, the trail of an unsuspecting gardener, which leads somewhere deep into the countryside. This is her first move. Small, risky, but it's her decision. She's no longer just a victim, she's a player. While Chon plans his big war, she begins her own small guerrilla war. Kira doesn't sleep almost all night. Every noise outside the window seems like a sign that her move has been discovered, that the gardener has been found, that they're about to break in. She lies and stares at the ceiling, holding her phone at the ready, although she doesn't know who she might call. The morning arrives gray and quiet. Nothing happens. Chon is already in his office, his voice even and emotionless outside the door. Kira is feeding Mia breakfast in the small dining room. The girl is drawing, already accustomed to the new place. Chon leaves his office around 10 in the morning. He's holding a tablet, his expression focused, but Kira notices something akin to satisfaction in the corners of his eyes. He approaches his desk. "You better not even go outside today," he says calmly, looking at Kira. "There's been some activity. They're checking the perimeter now." "What events?" Kira asks, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "A group of uninvited guests got too caught up in following one of the outside workers. They drove into a remote area. That's where they were met." He pauses briefly. "Local police are currently dealing with a drunken brawl and wrecked cars. No injuries. But I think the guests got the message." He looks straight at her. His dark eyes seem piercing. He doesn't ask anything, but there's a question in his gaze. Kira looks away, sipping her cold tea. She understands. Her plan worked. The enemy was misled and ambushed, likely orchestrated by Jong himself, who had intercepted their movements. She felt relief mixed with a new fear. She had just indirectly participated in this, in his war. The next day, life in the bunker villa proceeds as usual. Around noon, Kira leaves her room to find something for Mia to read. She heads to the living room, where she sees several books. In the hallway leading from the living quarters to the service area, she encounters a man carrying a tray with a coffee set and a plate of cookies. It's not one of the guards. It's a man in a white shirt and black trousers, like a servant. He lowers his eyes when he sees her and freezes, letting her pass. And at that moment, Kira sees his face. It takes her breath away. It's him, the manager from that restaurant, the same one who refused Chon a table. He's aged several years in the last few weeks. His face is pale and drawn. There are dark circles under his eyes, and his hands, holding the heavy tray, are visibly shaking. From fear, from fatigue, from everything at once. He doesn't look at her. He looks at the floor, frozen in a humiliated pose. The tray in his hands jingles. Kira passes by, speechless. She enters the living room and leans against the wall, feeling sick. What is he doing here? How did he get here? The answer comes to her, chilling and simple. This isn't work. This is punishment. Or worse, a show of power. Chon has taken him from his normal life and put him here as a servant, so that he can see every day those he's turned down, so that he understands the mistake he's made. That evening, when Chon leaves the office for a short while, she asks him about it. Directly. That man. The administrator. Does he work here? Chon pauses, his face expressionless. He's on duty here. He realized his previous employer didn't appreciate his insight. Did you take him by force? I offered him a choice. Lose everything. His job, his reputation, the opportunity to work in this city, or gain valuable experience and a new perspective here. He chose the experience. Chong speaks of this the same way he spoke of replacing the pipes as a logical solution to an engineering problem. Kira looks at him and a chill runs through her. This is the real him, the man who changes people's destinies with a single word. The next morning, Jong asks her an unexpected question at breakfast. He looks at her over his coffee cup. What should I do with it? He asks simply. With whom? With that man. The administrator. He fulfilled his role. He learned his lesson. Now he's no longer needed. What to do with him? Kira freezes. He's asking her. He's giving her the power to decide a person's fate. It's not a question. It's a test, and a demonstration of power in its purest form. She now holds in her hands the fate of the man who once hurt Chon and indirectly started this whole story. She thinks of his trembling hands, of his frightened eyes. He was arrogant and cruel, yes, but he is already punished, humiliated, broken. Let him go, she hears herself say. Just let him go. Let him go. Chon looks at her for a long moment, unblinking. He can talk. He can cause trouble. He won't create. He's too scared. And it's wrong. Keeping him here. Chon nods slowly, as if making an important mental note. Okay, that's it. He doesn't ask her for an explanation. He simply accepts her decision as law. Later that day, Kira sees the man being led out to a black SUV. His personal belongings are returned to him. He doesn't look back. He gets in the car and is driven away. She doesn't know where or what will happen to him, but she understands. She has just used Zhang's power. She has used it, albeit in the guise of mercy. The rules of her world have changed irrevocably. She can no longer pretend she has nothing to do with it. She has just made a choice that has changed a man's life. This doesn't make her feel any better. She's terrified by how easily it happened. 3 days later, Chon announces they're returning to the city. The situation has stabilized. The necessary steps have been taken. Your home is the safest place right now. The return feels surreal. Her apartment looks exactly the same as before. Same furniture, same wallpaper, same curtains. But Chon gives her a quick orientation. He shows her the new control panel, hidden behind the mirror in the hallway. From there, she can check the surveillance cameras on the entire floor, in the entryway, and in the courtyard. The system recognizes faces. The door now has a biometric lock and a steel core. The windows have armored glass that can't be broken. The ventilation has a filtration system. Even the electrical outlets are now part of the security system. Nothing has changed on the outside, says Chon. No one must know. This is your fortress. Kira walks around the apartment, touching familiar things. Mia's books, her toys, the photos on the refrigerator. Everything is there. But all of this is now inside the armored shell he's built. Her old life, her small victory, all of it now exists within his world, within his protection. She doesn't feel safe. She feels like she's in a very expensive, very sophisticated prison, but a prison from which, if necessary, she can observe the outside world through cameras and control the locks from a control panel. Kira returns to work a week after an unexpected vacation, which she explains as family matters. Her colleagues look at her with even greater curiosity. Sarah whispers that while she was gone, some serious investors were in the office. Mr. Davis calls her on her first day. He looks both excited and a little scared. Kira, sit down. We have amazing news. That townhouse project, it turned into something bigger, much bigger. He hands her a thick folder. We're talking about renovating an entire block in an old industrial area. Housing, social infrastructure, parks. It's a project that will take years and a huge budget. Kira leafs through the documents. Numbers swirl before her eyes. And, you want me to keep track of this? She can't believe her ears. It's not exactly us who want it. It's the investor. A new investment company, Vector Capital. They contacted us. They studied your portfolio, what little there is, and your approach to the townhouse project. They're insisting on you, as the lead architect, with your own team. Why? Is the only word she can utter. Davis spreads his hands. They have their own vision. They're looking for a fresh perspective. And, he lowers his voice, they're offering you a percentage of the project. This is a sum that will change your life, Kira. You and your daughter will be provided for. She sits clutching a folder. She hasn't seen the portfolio. There's almost none. Her approach is diligence and a desire to survive. That's not a reason for such an investment. This is him. Vector Capital. This is his hand. He's not just protecting her physically. He's building her a future, a career, wealth. He's integrating her into the normal world, but on his terms. At the top, this is a gift. And this is a new cage, even more beautiful and durable. She can't refuse. Refusing would offend the investor and ruin her career here. And more importantly, it might anger Chon and upset the delicate balance they'd established. I need to think, she says. Think fast, Davis says. They expect an answer tomorrow. That evening, Kira picks Mia up from kindergarten. Her new friend, Liam, and her father, the security guard, have already left. At home, over dinner, Mia suddenly says, Mom, when is Uncle Jung coming to visit? Kira chokes on her water. Why do you ask? I want to show him my new drawing. About our house, the one where we were in the forest. Mia, Kira begins cautiously, aren't you afraid of him? The girl chews thoughtfully. No, he's not bad. He's just lost, like we used to be. Remember when we couldn't afford ice cream and we were sad? He was sad like that too. Only he doesn't have a mom to hug him, so sometimes he does bad things. But inside, he's good. I can feel it. Kira looks at her daughter, and her heart sinks. A child's intuition sees what she herself is only just beginning to dimly comprehend beneath layers of fear, anger, and calculation. Chon truly is lost. A man lost in his own cruel world, who has found a scrap of something real and clung to it with the desperation of a drowning man. His methods are horrific. His world is repulsive. But what he feels for them, for this illusion of family, warmth, normalcy, is perhaps the most real thing he has left. And Mia, pure and spontaneous, sees this and trusts him, not his strength, but his vulnerability. This trust frightens Kira more than any threat, because she's beginning to understand that she, too, can't simply up and tear him out of their lives. He's woven himself into it. He's become part of their story. Chon comes 2 days later. Not at night, but during the day. On Saturday, he rings the doorbell like a regular guest. He's in a dark casual suit, no tie. Brings Mia an expensive but discreet artist's kit. He sits with them over tea, talking to Mia about her drawings. He seems different, calmer, less detached. But Kira sees the tension in his shoulders. He didn't just drop in for tea. When Mia goes to her room to color her new book, Chon places a small key on the table. It looks like a safe deposit box key. This is for you, he says quietly. What is this? The key to the safe. At the classic bank on Central Street, 15. The box is in your name. The documents are in there. Kira looks at the key without touching it. What documents? The documents for this apartment. They're registered entirely in your name. No liens. There's also a savings account in Mia's name, with a certain amount. It'll be available when she turns 18. And a clean passport, in a different name, with a photo that would suit both of you, with a little hair tweaking. Kira looks up at him. One word is pounding in her head. Escape. Why? She whispers. Just in case, he says, looking straight at her. His eyes are dark, serious. If something goes wrong, if my protection fails, if this world finally gets to you, you'll have a chance to disappear, start a new life, somewhere else, with different names, with money. This is your insurance policy. From me. He's not giving her a gift. He's giving her a way out. A final, radical escape from the life he created for her. He understands that he could be the cause of their demise, and he's giving her the means to save them. There's something of chivalrous cruelty and desperate responsibility in this. Do you think this will be necessary? She asks. I hope not, but in my world, hope is a poor advisor. Better to be prepared. He gets up to leave. He turns at the door. The district project. It's a good project. You should take it. It's yours. By right. He leaves. Kira remains seated at the table, clutching the cold metal key in her palm. This is the price. The final price of his care. The possibility of losing everything and starting over. The key to freedom, which feels like the ultimate mockery. Night, Mia is asleep. Kira is standing on the balcony of her old new apartment. Behind the unbreakable glass lies a view of the sleeping city. Her neighborhood, the very one drawn in pencil on a napkin. She no longer feels like a victim. The fear that gripped her throat has transformed into something else. Awareness. She lives on a battlefield. She has a powerful ally, who is also her greatest threat. She has power. Through him, through the project, through that key in her box. Power she fears because she's seen what it leads to. She has a man she can neither accept nor reject. He is her jailer and her protector. He destroyed her old life and built a new one. Stronger, richer, but also more dangerous. She glances over her shoulder into the dark room, at the outline of the bed where her daughter sleeps. It was for this small breath in the darkness that she entered the restaurant. It was for this that she invited a stranger to her table. It was for this that she now stands here, holding the key to the safe containing a passport in another name. Everything has changed forever. Her world now takes on a different form. It's harder, colder, more complex. There are no easy answers, but she and Mia are there, and he is there, part of this new, terrible, and real picture. She takes a deep breath of the cool night air, filtered through the system. Tomorrow she will call Mr. Davis and agree to lead the neighborhood project. She will begin building the future he gave her, and she will hold the key, just in case. She's no longer the woman with a small victory. She's the one who survived, and continues to live, in a new reality.